Welcome, everyone, to This Beautiful Life, the podcast where I interview just regular, interesting people and learn about who they are and how they got to be the person that they are and how their worldview is informed by the life that they've had. This podcast is an exploration of the human condition. It is an attempt to counterbalance a social media landscape that insists upon dividing us into echo chambers where we only listen to each other and the other are the enemy. This podcast is an exercise in empathy and compassion where we leave our judgments at the window and try to really understand our fellow man. In today's episode, I would like to introduce you to my friend Kristen. Kristen reached out to me after finding my YouTube channel a little over a year ago, and we became very fast friends. I hope you really enjoy this interview. Kristen is originally from Utah. She is from the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, more popularly known as the Mormon Church. And I'm an atheist, so you might find this conversation quite interesting. And I would like to remind you that Kristen and I are both real people with real feelings. So if you're going to comment, we would really appreciate it if you would try to talk to us online the way you would talk to us if we were right in front of your face, with manners and respect. Thank you very much. Hi, Kristen.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I like this idea. This is Kristen's idea, is to do a puzzle while we're talking, which I think is a great idea.
So we're not eyeball to eyeball doing nothing. Yeah.
Okay, so tell me a little bit about, you are a Mormon from America that lives now in Canada and has lived here for
5 years?
35 years.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about your story.
Oh. Okay. There's a lot of it. I've lived a long time. Okay, well, yeah, born and raised in the U.S., got married there. My husband's Canadian, but he was down there going to school.
And you were quite young when you got married.
I was 19.
19.
Yeah.
And he was
27.
Okay. But you'd known each other for
3 years or so.
Okay.
Yeah. So I guess we met when I was about 15.
Okay.
We were in the same band together. And he started driving the carpool to band, and so I kind of worked my way up to the front seat. And anyway, we got married down there, had a baby down there, and then we moved to Canada 35 years ago. So anyway, yeah, I'm the third of 5 kids, raised member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, which is also known as Mormon.
Yeah.
Do
you refer to yourselves as Mormon, or is that what other people call you?
That's what other people call it.
Is it a bit of a pejorative?
Well, no, it's like Yankee. It's a nickname because the name of the church is long.
Yeah.
So people
call it LDS for short.
LDS or Church of Jesus Christ.
Okay.
Yeah. But people know us as Mormons, so
yeah,
it's hard to get away from that.
Right.
But what would you like to know? I got a bachelor's at Brigham Young University in linguistics.
But you also studied in Scotland?
Wales.
Wales.
I just did a semester abroad in
Wales. When you were quite young?
18.
Yeah.
19. It was right before I got married.
Yeah. And you speak Welsh?
Well,
you sing in Welsh?
Yes, I sing with the Burlington Welsh Ladies Choir. I used to know Welsh. I used to know a lot of languages. I don't really anymore. But yeah, we had to learn a bunch of them. Linguistics is the study of how to learn language, study of language.
Okay.
So as part of that, I took like 12 languages to try and learn different methodologies and stuff. So I've studied a lot of languages. I'm not very good at any of them. So.
What are you good at? Like, is it the rules that you're good at, or is it the vocabulary that you're good at, or the theory?
Well, none of it now. Back then, my specialty was child language acquisition.
Okay.
But of all the languages I've learned, Welsh, Italian, French, probably American Sign Language are my best.
Okay.
But yeah, I've pretty much forgotten mostly. And then my minor was English as a second language teaching. My plan was to become a teacher. That didn't work out.
What happened?
Well, part of it, well, no, long story, but anyway, we came to Canada for various reasons.
Okay.
I would have had to have redone my bachelor's to get a teaching certificate here.
Oh.
Because-
And that's a pretty big commitment. And you
Yeah.
already had a kid.
I already had one kid, and then we had 2 more after we moved here. We'd also
Yeah.
had a couple of foster kids. We had one that came and lived from Utah that came up and lived with us.
You can do that with a foster kid?
He had to come on a student visa, but yeah, he was our foster kid.
I'm just surprised
So-
that the foster system would let him.
They were just happy somebody would step up. You know, they're desperate for homes. So
Yeah.
anyway, so yeah, he couldn't come as our foster kid. He could come as a student,
Okay.
and then once he graduated high school, he had to go back to the States.
Okay.
So, but we're still in touch with him. He's like 48, 49 now. Yeah.
That's cool.
So where was I? So
I
we
keep
came to
railroading
Canada.
you. Sorry,
That's
I keep
fine. No,
interrupting
that's fine.
you.
And then we had 2 more kids here.
Okay.
So I've got 3 sons and now 3 grandkids.
Yeah. And one of them's just a sweet little baby.
Baby. Yeah.
Okay, so you're talking about linguistics.
Yes.
And I interrupted you. And then we were talking about, okay, so you're good with languages and you're also good with music, right? That was a big part of your childhood?
Yes. Yeah. My whole family's very musical.
Is that sort of specific to your family or is that kind of an LDS thing?
Well, I mean, obviously with the choir and whatever, we're very musical. Everybody's expected. Well, okay, so I come from basically a different planet. Everybody there is expected to go to university. Everybody there is expected to know languages and instruments, and
Yeah.
like we're very big on education.
Yeah.
Now, I was one of 5 kids, so instead of affording lessons for everybody, my parents would, for example, they sent me for guitar and banjo, and then I would go home and teach my brothers and sisters. I had one brother really good at piano, and so we all just kind of came home and taught each other.
That's cool.
So now we all play lots of different instruments.
Very clever.
When my family gets together now, they still do a lot of singing, jam session.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll never be the Osmonds, but I grew up down the hill from the Osmonds.
Seriously?
Yeah.
So you knew them?
I've met Marie a couple of times. I think I met Jimmy. I can't remember. But no, I mean, my husband did some music instruction with their family.
Oh, okay. So that are they actually nice or are they just pretending to be nice?
Oh no, they're very nice.
Okay.
Yeah. No, they're nice.
Tell me about your faith journey.
Okay. Well, so I was raised in the LDS church. My family joined in the 1830s, right at the beginning.
Oh, wow.
And so, like my brother's grandkids. So that would be 9 generations, I think,
Wow.
in the church. I'm 7th
Okay.
generation. So.
So, would you have had much choice about what religion you?
I probably would have, but it never dawned on me to even question it, because I always, it was comfortable for me. It not just the doctrine, but also just the way of life.
Okay.
It made a lot of sense to me.
Okay.
So, I mean, even if I hadn't believed it, I still probably would have lived it,
Yeah.
because I could see how it avoids a lot of problems in life when you live the principles of it.
Yeah.
Especially things around, we don't drink, we don't smoke,
Mhm.
we don't do drugs, So a lot of that, I think, just a lot of avoidance of problems to begin with.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's easier to stay out of trouble than to get in, get out of it.
Is there ever a problem with people actually drinking but hiding it? Like, do you hear stories
There
about that sort of
probably
thing?
was. I didn't
Yeah.
know anybody at the time, but I was 22 when I
Yeah.
left. Like I
Yeah.
wasn't. Now everybody knows how old I am. I do the math. I'm sure there were people that didn't struggle, that struggled with it or whatever. But I personally didn't know anybody. Like it was 99% LDS. So when I was growing up, now I think it's different now. I think there's a lot more people moving in from other places. Economically, it's a good place to live too. So
Yeah.
I think it's diluted the population of it since
Okay.
then. But when I was there, I think I knew one person who wasn't LDS in my high school.
So there weren't like a
Maybe
lot
2.
of liquor sales in your town?
No, it's dry. Yeah, it's dry.
Like legally a dry town?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think so. Yeah,
Rather
you
than
can't.
just nobody drank, so what was the point?
So like if you went to a fancy restaurant, you could bring your own bottle and they would support for you,
Right.
but I don't think they provided it.
Okay.
Back then, they
Yeah.
wouldn't. Yeah.
Hmm.
So just simple things like that. And because all of your peers were also living the same way, it was just part of the culture. It was just easy to do. You don't date before 16. There's a few things that, because everybody was that way, then
Right.
nobody questioned it.
So you don't date before 16.
Yeah.
So that means you don't have a lot of people getting married when they're quite young.
Well, no, they do.
Okay.
We get married fairly young.
Okay. So you don't date for very long.
No. In fact, my husband and I hardly dated. It was almost arranged. Like, it was just kind of, we knew each other from band practice. I was off in Wales going to school. He went and talked to my dad, basically got permission to marry me. And when I got home, he basically, I remember Dad coming home saying, congratulations, you're engaged. And my mom's like, who to? She's not even dating. Well, he seems nice. He came and talked to me for an hour or two.
Is there any part of you that resents that?
No, it was much easier. I'm an introvert, so I was totally fine not having to date anybody.
Yeah.
When you get to know somebody like at band practice and you're not thinking of them as potential partner, you're not worried about impressing each other. You see each other at your best and at your worst.
Yeah.
So, we were just
He
friends.
wasn't, because there is a real problem with, like, when you're actively dating, people putting on their best version of themselves.
Right. Yeah.
And then once you get comfortable to each other, then they start to show you who they really are.
Right.
And it turns out they're not the person you thought they were.
Yeah.
You
But when
didn't
you're
have any
just
of that.
friends for 3 years, then, there's none of that kind of pressure. Or,
Would you have been allowed to say no?
Oh, yes. Yeah. No, it was still my choice.
Okay.
Yeah. It was just, didn't really date. We went to a couple of band activities and stuff. But
So do you think you would be a person that would ever advocate for arranged marriage? Or do you think there's sort of pros and cons to everything?
I've met 2 people that have had arranged marriages, and it has turned out really happy, really well.
Yeah.
So I think it depends on what you grow up
On who's doing the
expecting.
arranging also.
Well, yes, but I think it depends on what your expectation is growing up. If you assume this is the situation and we're going to make it work, then you go make it work.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of the guesswork in.
Because I was just thinking about today about how, like, the sort of the popular narrative is that love is all you need, and that's not true.
Money helps.
Yeah, but not just that. It's just like love was great until life got hard.
Yes.
And then when life got hard, one person in the relationship could handle it and one person couldn't.
Yeah.
So I think there's got to be more than just love. There's got to be some life skills, and there's also got to be, I don't know.
Yeah, but there's also got to be the commitment of not just to each other, but to the marriage. I think that's, I would assume nowadays we've probably got the same divorce rate as anybody else, but I know when I was growing up, it was probably a lot less.
Okay.
It's just, you just expect, they still allow divorce if it's a case of abuse or neglect or, terrible something. But you're expected to work it out. And they give you the supports to do it. There's counseling, there's stuff, programs through the church if you need it. But you don't go into it lightly. We don't, depending on how you're married, by what authority and where, it's not just till death do you part. It's for eternity. It's forever. Next life too.
Yeah.
So you don't enter it lightly. You go into it knowing that this is it. We got to make this work.
So you say divorce is becoming more common in the LDS
Well, I don't know if it's
community.
more common or if it always has been the average, and I just never was aware of it.
But I guess a lot, if no one's allowed to drink or do drugs, that's going to eliminate a big part of.
Probably.
Yeah.
Probably. And you go into it with common values, common expectation.
Yeah. And a common worldview and a common belief system.
Right, that helps. And I think most people, they go meet somebody, they don't necessarily grow up in the same kind of environment, the same belief system. It's a lot more pressure, I think, on marriage.
So I didn't know, I studied world religions in school, and they don't teach about the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints because it's kind of considered a cult. So when I met you and I started asking you questions about your religion, I was really surprised at how much it's not what I was led to believe by what people say.
Yeah. Well, that's probably true of everything you learn about anybody. It's usually, it's better to talk to the person who's living it to find out what it's like.
So, there's this sort of, there's the underlying doctrine, which the South Park guys very famously kind of made fun of.
Yeah. And the Book of Mormon musical and
Yeah.
there's it seems to be free hunting season on. Yeah.
But the practice has really surprised me, what you've told me about how much it's about asking questions, and whereas a lot of Christian religions, it's very much don't ask questions, just do what you're told and have faith in the system and don't think critically.
Yeah.
LDS is quite different.
I would say so. Just from, I mean, I was half of a master's in theology at U of T.
Yeah.
And talking to people from all kinds of different religions. And I think one of the big differences is we're all about education, about learning things. But we're also told right from the pulpit, go find out for yourself, go ask questions, go study. We're expected to study every day. And we're expected to get our own testimony of it and not rely on other people and what they say.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's probably a little bit different. And it's also, I mean, we do proselyte and whatever, but it's basically, there's good and truth all over the world, and it's our job to put it all together in one place.
Okay. So it's not really other religions are wrong and a problem.
Other religions may not have the whole complete picture, or other religions may teach things that are anti what we believe.
Okay.
We do believe that we've got authority that other churches don't.
Okay.
So
that's because we're
restorationists.
Restorationists. Explain.
That when Christ was on the earth, he set up the church, for lack of a better word, of how he wanted things. Mm-hmm. And there was an apostasy, the apostles were killed, the people were scattered, there was, changes came about, things got adapted. So it was kind of lost in its purity. And so we believed it had to be restored.
Okay.
In the 1800s is when that happened. So I think there's some other religions that also believe that. But anyway, so we claim to have a priesthood authority that other churches don't.
Okay. So like the message of Jesus was great, but it got perverted by the churches that came after him. And
I don't know if I use a stronger word as perverted,
okay.
But it was, some things were lost, some of the authority was lost, the apostles were killed, things might not have been handed down the way they needed to be.
Okay.
Yeah. So we believe that authority had to get restored.
Okay.
And that's where Joseph Smith comes in that
right.
whole story, which we don't have to go into. It's a long story. But yeah. Yeah. So we're Christian, but a lot of Christians don't call us Christian because we're not Trinitarian.
Right. Which is that the Trinity is that sort of complicated idea that the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost are different, but they're also the same, because you can only have one God, but they're all God, but they're separate, but they're the same.
I took a whole semester on that once, and I still don't understand it. We believe in the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost, but they're three separate beings.
Okay.
We pray to the Father. He's the one in charge.
Okay.
Christ is a mediator so that we can get to the Father. They're both divine. So in that sense, we're technically not
kind of
monotheistic. Because we say they're three separate beings.
Yeah.
Now they all function together in one leadership and one godhood. But.
Whereas Muslims, they consider Jesus to be a prophet.
Right.
So there is only one God, but Jesus is a prophet. Muhammad is a prophet. Abraham was a prophet.
Everybody turns themselves inside out trying to explain it so that they can stay monotheistic. Yeah. We don't bother trying to stay monotheistic.
It's not that important to you.
We just say the Father's the one that we are accountable to, but Christ is the one who makes that possible, and they're both divine.
Okay.
So other Christians are uncomfortable with that, so sometimes that's an issue.
Now, what is it like for women in the LDS Church?
I like it. So here's part of the complication of being me. Is life is full of dichotomies, and in some things I'm very liberal, and in other things I'm very conservative. Mm-hmm. The church is patriarchal, but the women are considered equal as far as their value and the role they play, and they're just not given the same positions. Well, I have to back up and explain that. We don't have a paid clergy.
Okay.
So women aren't allowed to be clergy but the men aren't. It's not like it's a career.
Okay.
You know, so women will be put in charge of certain auxiliaries, certain parts of programs in the church.
Okay.
And there's a separate women's group, kind of like the Women's Institute for United Church, that kind of thing.
Okay.
But they don't hold the priesthood. They can function under the authority of the priesthood.
Okay.
How's that?
Yes.
So I have all the responsibility I want. Thank you.
How much power do women have to over their own lives?
Everything.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
If a marriage is working right, you are an equal team.
Okay. So there's do you use the word submission? Does that come up?
No. We do say that the man's the head of the house, meaning it's on his head.
Okay.
It's his stewardship. And the women are, in general, their stewardship is the children, if there's children, you know. But you equally, like your partners, he'll help with the kids and she'll go to work if she has to. And, you know. Now, when I was small, fewer women worked because the economy was such that women didn't have to work.
Right.
Now they do. And
Yeah.
I'd say a lot of the women do work now. That was I never expected to have to work
Right.
when I was growing up. So I studied really useful things like Mayan, you know, instead of something that could actually earn a living. So.
But then you did spend most of you had a career.
I don't know if I call it a career. I had a job.
Okay.
I worked for 30-something years as a executive assistant, admin assistant kind of thing. And then I write on the side.
Yeah.
So, and that's what I would call my actual work.
Yeah.
It's my colleague is writing.
Is writing. Yeah. And you write.
Yeah.
What genre would you say?
It's hard to say.
You dabble.
They actually called me in to meet with the publisher once when I was in Utah, because my publisher was in Utah. They called me in to say, we want to just meet you to make sure that you're just one person, because everything you write is different, and they couldn't quite get it, you know, in their heads that one person would write this, you know. So I've got, for my fiction ones, I've got, you know, mysteries and westerns and women's lit and romance, well-behaved romance, and, you know, historical fiction, and I just, you know, I don't read one thing. Why would I write one thing?
Yeah. Yeah.
So that was actually a sticking point with my publisher, because they wanted me to be consistent so that readers knew what to expect, so they could get me an actual readership.
Okay.
And I just
write
everything. Yeah.
I have the same problem with my YouTube channel.
Yeah.
Is that I'm supposed to pick one niche and just talk about that one niche.
How boring would that be?
It's totally boring. I can't do it.
No.
I would just feel like I'm
blog.
repeating myself all the time.
Yeah, I'm the same with my blog. I do the whatever happens to be walking past my window at the time that catches my attention. That's what I blog about. So yeah. So I worked all the time my kids were growing up. I wished I didn't have to. I would have much preferred to stay home with my kids.
Yeah.
That was where my heart was.
You've really loved being a mom.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I'm really liking being a grandma.
Yeah.
But, you know, the economics of the times. And I did worry a little bit about women who never worked, because all their eggs are in one basket. If something happens to their husband and they have to go get a job at the age of 55,
then what do?
You have no work history, even if you've been trained, because a lot of the women go to university, but they just never use it.
Yeah.
If you don't keep one foot in a little bit, or at least keep on top of your field, you're going to be washing dishes for a living. You know, that's not a happy way to end your life. So I fought having to work, but it's probably actually a good thing, because with my husband's career, you're not guaranteed, you know, steady income. So it turned out to be a good thing. But yeah, I wish I was home. Now I am home. My kids are grown.
But luckily, some of them still live in your house.
A couple of them still live in my house. Yeah.
And you're relishing that.
I am. I know everybody's saying they should grow up and move out, and I'm like, no, not yet. Now, who would I play board games with? You know. So I like having them there. They're fun. And I mean, they're independent. They're just, they're both going to school and whatever. So.
Yeah. And you live in Toronto, where life is very expensive.
Mississauga. But yeah.
To me, that's Toronto.
Yeah, close enough. It's very expensive, and it's kind of ridiculous to expect anybody to be able to afford and go to school. So, and I didn't want my kids to come out of school with a huge debt. They're going to come out of school with no debt.
Yeah.
So
That's awesome.
the
That's a real gift that you can give them.
well, and they're a gift to me too, though. You know, they keep me young.
Yeah.
So.
So people wouldn't normally think of a Mormon from Utah as being politically progressive as you are.
Maybe, but that's probably my husband's fault for
Is
bringing
it?
me here.
Well, that was going to be my question. How do you think that happened?
Yeah. Part of it's just because I didn't stay living there. Okay. If I had stayed living there, I don't know, my personality-wise, I probably would have pushed back a bit.
Yeah.
But I think for the most part it's because I did come out and see how other people are living, and that there's also good in other ways of thinking, and there's other, other ways of thinking.
Yeah.
So I like to think that I would be open-minded if I was still living there, but it's nice to know that, I can meet other people and see how they live and how they think, and it doesn't threaten me if they're thinking differently. Hi, dog. This is my dog. Hi.
Yeah, I actually sort of have a bit of that's what I've been kind of thinking of, that it's hard to be conservative when you're a person who has traveled and seen people of all different backgrounds.
Well, I guess it depends how you define conservative, because my religion, my upbringing is pretty conservative.
Right.
It's not, my lifestyle is pretty conservative.
Yeah.
My political views are raging liberal.
Yeah.
So my whole life has been, I think, reconciling differences. I read a really good quote this week, actually, about you don't have to choose between different aspects of yourself. You can be an introvert who likes to talk to people.
Yeah.
You can be, a grandma that likes to play board games and likes solitude. And, there's, I'm a writer that sometimes doesn't like to write.
Yeah.
And a gardener who sometimes hates gardening.
Yeah.
So I think there's a way to be conservative in some spots, liberal in other spots. Mm-hmm. Hopefully your mind's open enough that you're willing to adapt that as you go through life, and different things are required.
But I think that's part of the reason, that's something I really respect, is that you're able to look at each different situation and decide, how does this sit with my values?
Yes.
Rather than just being, well, someone over there told me that I'm supposed to think this way, so I'm going to think this way.
I think it really, in a lot of ways, when you label yourself something, it really restricts you. So, if you're labeled, this is my thought process, or this is the way I view things, then when you don't fit into that label, you go into crisis, So if you look at it more of values, what's important to me,
yeah,
and that might change. Like, I say I'm pretty much socialist, but when it comes to voting, it depends what the issue is.
Yeah.
I might not vote liberal, depending on what the current issue is.
Yeah.
So I think you have to be open to learning and adapting.
Yeah.
So. And I think to go with that is also understanding. I think that goes there. If somebody thinks differently than I do, what are their values? Why are they doing that? Somebody who's extremely conservative, anti-government might think, their value is independence.
Right.
Somebody who's extremely socialist might say, my value is compassion. So it depends. They're both good values. Mm-hmm. It just depends on what fits the moment.
Yeah.
And how that gets translated into daily life. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
You still have your values. You're still true to those, and they don't flip flop. But the way they get interpreted in your life might change.
Yeah. So give me an example of a way that you're conservative.
Well, patriarchal religion.
Yeah.
I am fine with somebody else being in charge, but I want to be able to understand it and have my own reasoning behind why I live the way I live. So in that case, I don't know. I don't know how I'd label myself necessarily that
Yeah,
way.
yeah. Have you, so for instance, for me, I have a hard time with accepting men being in charge because a lot of the time men are not altruistic. The men who want to be in charge are not altruistic.
Well, see, there's the difference.
Yeah.
Is it's not that the men want to be in charge. They can't go sign up to be bishop. You know, they get called to be bishop. Everyone I've ever talked to says, "Oh no," when they get called to be bishop.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, because it's not a career. People aren't going into. It's not a paid clergy.
Yeah.
You are just assigned. And one year you might be bishop, and the next minute you might be teaching the 3-year-old class, and then one minute you might be the janitor helping set up chairs. And it's not like it's a position for life,
Right.
right? So
Because I think that is a big part of the problem, is that the people who want power are not the people who are going to wield it.
see, and with us, if you want
Kindly.
power, you will not be getting it.
That's
that
interesting.
is not something that we would encourage. In fact, we would discourage. And if you were found to be wanting power, there would be talking to.
Yeah. So you have found, because of that, the leadership of LDS is generally fairly...
I find everyone now I've had good experiences. So the ones I have met and grown up with are kind, sweet, gentle, loving. I think that's one advantage to the church. Gives men the opportunity to learn to be gentle and sweet and kind. And you know, they might be teaching the 3-year-olds, and they
Yeah.
might, you know, they might be sitting on the floor with the nursery class eating cookies, you know, for the, you know, they're allowed to let their hair down. They're allowed to emote.
Yeah.
And I think that's hard to find anywhere else in their lives, that they're allowed to emote. You
Yeah.
can at church, you know. And I think that is an important part of their growth in the church.
It sounds like a healthy version of masculinity,
It is, yeah.
which is rare these days.
In fact, it says right in the instructions and in the scriptures, you know, that you can't, how does it put it? That you can't hold a position of authority by coercion or by, you know, ego, basically. And if you find that sneaking in, then there's repentance required. So yeah, there's some safeguards there, and obviously if somebody misbehaved or started, you know, throwing their weight around, there would be a talking to, because it's a hierarchy. There's always somebody above him that you can go say, hey.
Yeah.
And
So the
they'll
person
investigate.
at the absolute top, because he recently died.
Yeah, the prophet.
Yeah.
Yeah, president of the church.
The president is called a prophet.
Yeah.
Is he considered a prophet?
A prophet, seer,
Okay.
and revelator.
So you've had quite a few prophets.
14 or so,
And
yeah.
how do they get to be prophets?
They are called.
Okay.
And most of them probably
calls
had never
them?
thought they would.
Besides God.
Okay, so the structure is, well, we're getting really into theology. So the structure is, we've got the quorum of the 12 apostles,
Okay.
and below them are the 70, like it's basically structured as you'd see in the New Testament.
Yes. Yeah.
And then the senior member of that quorum of the 12,
Okay.
and it's actually 15 because they've got 2 counselors. Anyway, the senior in seniority, you know, he's served all his life,
Okay.
basically, gets called to be the prophet.
Okay.
And the 12 ordain him.
Yeah.
Right. So he's, I don't know if I'd use the word ordain. The 12 agree. They all have to be in absolute agreement.
Okay.
And he's the one. So we already know, even though, you know, the one died and we have a new one now, we already know who's going to be after him because
Okay.
of seniority
Yeah.
down the
Okay.
chain, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
That's
And
interesting.
usually by the time they get there, they're in their 80s, you know, because they've had a lifetime of service.
Yeah.
So does that kind of
Yeah.
explain?
I think that's neat. I heard something a while ago. Maybe it was a Malcolm Gladwell thing. They were looking at an alternative form of democracy, which basically, if you're interested in running, you enter your name in a lottery, and then they just select the winner.
Instead of campaigning?
Yeah,
Oh,
because oftentimes the people who are best at campaigning are not the best at leading.
yeah,
We're selecting
I
our leaders
agree
based
with
on the
that.
wrong qualities.
yeah.
And I totally agree with that.
This isn't a vote. Like, it's not it's the same way, you know, if I get called to be a Sunday school teacher,
Yeah.
we believe in ongoing revelation. It's not like it all ended with
Okay.
Jesus. It's still going.
God is still communicating. with
Right.
you. Okay.
And so he will tell your local leader, she'd make a good teacher, So then he calls you to be a teacher, and you say, okay. And so you do it, and you learn, and whatever. And so then, a couple of years later, you might get called to run the women's group, or,
Have you ever had a crisis of faith? Have you ever had a period where you thought maybe God isn't real?
I haven't, no, because somebody's picking on me. No, that's an old joke. I've never doubted, like I've been blessed my whole life with faith. I've never doubted that God's real.
Okay.
I have had to learn how, because I grew up in Utah, it was very much the culture. Mm-hmm. At some point after I left Utah and grew up, mm-hmm. I had to make sure I was in it for the right reason.
Yeah. And
re-examine my faith and make sure it was solid.
Yeah.
And of course you have, difficulties in your life or whatever when you might think, is this worth it? Because it isn't an easy religion to live necessarily. It permeates every part of your life, every bit of daily life, mm-hmm. from what you eat to wear to, everything you do.
Yeah.
So your whole life is your practice. And so sometimes learning how to put that practice into practice might take some struggle. So it's not so much a crisis of faith, it's more of a, okay, so how do I do this? How do I pull this off?
Yeah.
And how do I align myself with those values that I hold?
Yeah.
But I don't think I've ever doubted the values of it.
Yeah. So how do you know that God is real?
Part of it from experience, which I probably won't get into great detail, but things that have worked out for me that there is no way that humanly possible. This is not something I worked out for myself. This was intervention.
Yeah.
Just seeing daily miracles, just feeling the confirmation as you're reading the scriptures, as you, just peace.
Yeah.
Feeling like, I think there has to be two parts. There has to be an intellectual part and there has to be an emotional part. So that when the intellectual part is struggling a bit to say, how does this fit together? The emotional part can say, well, remember when you experienced that.
Right.
And fall back on that and cling to that.
Yeah.
And then sometimes when you're just emotionally not doing well, you can say, but it makes sense, Yeah. So you need both parts.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't say both of my parts are totally 100% every time, Some things it's like, well, I don't know how that works out. Put that on the shelf, we'll think about it, come back to it once in a while and see if that question's resolved. Mm. But I'm okay with living with some questions. Like, I don't necessarily have to know everything in the universe. Yeah. I'd like to think I do, but I don't. Yeah.
Now,
so does that answer that?
Any of your kids consider themselves to be LDS?
All three of them are currently not what we call active.
Okay.
They're living good lives. I mean, they're not antagonistic. Okay. And I think deep down the core values are still the same, family and, honesty, those things they still value.
And that's what's important
to you. It's putting it into practice.
Yeah.
They may not, you don't eat till you're hungry. So someday when they're hungry and things aren't going well, they might remember, oh, maybe if I tried it that way, it would work better.
Does your religion allow people to go to heaven just for being good people, or do they have to be active?
Define heaven.
Oh yeah, yours.
So heaven is a series of progressions, right?
Okay.
And you'll progress as far as you're comfortable progressing.
Okay.
Right. So the more you want it, the more you're trying to live it, the higher you'll go. Basically. Okay. It's like going to university is the way I kind of look at it. If you're putting in the time and putting in the work, you'll appreciate it. You'll want it. So I should clarify what I said just now with works. We do believe in grace.
Okay.
But that grace allows us the opportunity to do works. And if you have faith, you should show it by your works. Yeah. So it is works, but it's mostly grace, right? Because we wouldn't be allowed to do the works if we didn't have the grace.
I do think one of the things I really like about your belief system is that you have to know what you're talking about. I meet a lot of Christians who are just Christian because they're supposed to be Christian, and they've never really thought critically about their religion, and they don't really understand their religion, and they don't...
You've studied it, defined it.
Yeah. Whereas I find when I talk to you and your husband, both of you really know your stuff.
Well, like I said, it's like from the age of 3, you're taught, read your scriptures, read, know
And
your
you're taught
Bible,
to go
know
to the
your,
source rather than
Yes.
just believe what the preacher is telling
Right.
you.
Right. Yeah. And if you wander away from that sort, I mean, you're told to study out of the best books, words of wisdom, right? So you can study science, you can study, math, you can study all this other stuff, geology, geography, but with a spiritual lens. So
Okay.
you can't just go the teachings of men. You also have to look at scripture or, teachings of the prophets or whatever.
Yeah.
Throw those into, balance it. And when science and religion don't seem to jive, it's because we don't understand it all yet. It always comes down to, how do you treat your neighbor? And if this is teaching you to be mean to your neighbor, then it's not right.
Right. Because you said something to me about love. The whole point is love.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, Christ said that, right? Let's love God, love your neighbor. And it doesn't do you any good to know all this other stuff or do all this other stuff if you're not being kind to your neighbor. You can't call yourself Christian.
Yeah. And your neighbor doesn't have to be Christian for you to love them.
No, of course not. Yeah. No. That's one thing I really like. When you go to church, like just each little congregation, it's like a parish. We call it a ward. Mm-hmm. There's people there from all different walks of life, especially living here, so multicultural. So many walks of life, so many different backgrounds, and they all get along. Like we all know we're just there to learn and improve, and none of us are perfect. Mm-hmm. And they actually genuinely like each other, and I really enjoy that aspect of it. Like, they're trying really hard to just put it into practice of love your neighbor, and it's not feigned; it's genuine. Is that the angle you wanted to be going for this interview?
I just go where the interview takes me.
All
I
right.
never have I've given up on having a plan long ago.
Yeah.
You recently came to me with a bit of a conundrum that you're trying to decide how to move forward, because you've always been really big into gardening and preserving your own food and making sure that your family has good homegrown food. Mm-hmm. But now that your family is sort of growing up and moving on, you've been sort of toying with the idea of, should you be transitioning into...
Do I still need to bottle 4 bushels of peaches?
Yeah. And you talked a bit about service and what's
Yes.
the best way for you to be of service.
Yeah, I remember in one of your interviews you asked somebody what their purpose in life was.
Yeah.
And I've been thinking about that ever since, because I think my purpose changes depending on what time of life I'm in. My purpose is to raise my kids, or my purpose is whatever.
Yeah.
I think I'm getting to the point now where I'm no longer working, at least not full time, and I'm thinking I'm entering the phase where my purpose is to serve other people, or be compassionate. I don't know, give people a soft place to land, maybe. Is kind of, and which is weird for an introvert, because that means having to interact with people. And I'm not sure how I feel about that yet, but I'm feeling that tug that it's time to stop being focused internally and start focusing outward to other people. Yeah. So is there a way I can do that with my writing or my gardening or whatever I'm involved in?
Yeah. And you've been doing sign interpretation.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, I've been desperately learning sign language to help a deaf person at church. Just little things that, it's stuff that I'd like to learn anyway or do anyway, but is there a way to turn it around so it's not all about me? So.
Yeah.
And so I'm kind of facing that with my writing too. I've reached a crossroads with the writing that I'm not sure I want to keep doing novels. They're fun.
Yeah.
But is there something more useful? And I don't know. I struggle with that because I've had people say, "Oh, we need the fluffy novels to survive what's going on in the world."
Yes.
And I understand that, but at the same time, can I keep writing fluffy novels when people?
Well,
are
and also
hurting?
I feel like your mind isn't in a fluffy place.
No.
So it's hard to write fluff when you're feeling like the existential dread.
Yes. Yeah. It's kind of hard to, and I've tried to explain that to the publisher, because I was supposed to put out a book a year, and there were about 3 or 4 years there where I didn't.
Yeah.
I just can't do it right now. I'm just not in a good place.
Yeah.
And they were very understanding. That's fine. They're probably feeling it too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in the last year I've written 3 novels, and I'm probably okay with doing that on the side, but I want to do something a little more important.
Yeah.
So I haven't decided what that is yet.
Do you feel like talking about your existential dread?
Maybe a little bit, but I don't want to bring the room down.
What is worrying you the most about the state of the world at the moment?
How things can go wrong, which is understandable, things go wrong, but people seem to be supporting them going wrong.
How excited some people are.
Yeah, about other people hurting.
Yeah.
And I don't understand that mindset. I don't understand how you can rejoice in somebody. This is beyond Schadenfreude. This is, they're looking for ways to hurt other people.
Yeah.
They're rejoicing in other people's suffering.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't make a sweeping statement saying everybody's like that. I mean,
But
there's
there's
many people
way
who
more people like that than I felt than I thought that there were.
They're coming out of the woodwork, and I was not expecting that, and that's very disheartening.
Yeah.
And I've always kind of thought, I mean, I've always had the idea that people are basically good. You're born good. You know,
And
unless
you
something's
want to be
really
good.
warped you,
Yeah.
you want to be good. You want to be kind. You want to do well. You want to be productive. You want to.
You want to connect with other people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now I'm kind of saying, oh, well, maybe I was a little starry-eyed about
Yeah.
that one. Maybe that's not quite the way it works. It's disheartening.
Yeah, and then there's also this sort of, when you start to see the ugliness of the ugliness that exists in some other people, then the challenge is how do I stand up to that ugliness without becoming ugly?
Right, yes, yeah. And, you know, you try to be a peacemaker, and, you know, there's that quote from the Dalai Lama about sometimes silence is the answer, you know. But I think we're beyond the point where silence is acceptable. And I think you have to live according to your values. And that might mean having to speak up when it's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And that's a scary thing, and I'm not sure I can do it, but it doesn't work.
And it's something that I come to you a lot to talk about, like my own struggle of like, how do I, at what point do you decide that I see goodness in everyone. I believe that everyone is good, and that if they have an opinion that it is hurting other people, it's because they're misinformed, or if they just had the right information, you know.
Yeah.
But the truth is that that's not.
The
and then,
information's out there, and
At
they're
what
still.
point do you give up on people? At what point do you give up on the goodness of people?
I've heard my dad say this quote: sometimes when you're kicked by a mule, you consider the source and you let it go at that. You don't blame the mule for being a mule. You love the mule anyway, but you learn not to stand behind it.
Right.
And I think at some point you have to stop trying to change people and just protect yourself a little bit. And I hate to give up on people, but I think some just do not want to learn or change or hear other people's opinions or even consider there might be a differing opinion. So at some point you have to just, okay, I'll leave you to it then, but I'm backing off. And the ones that call themselves Christian and yet rejoice in other people's suffering aren't Christian. And I think at some point Jesus is going to let them know that. You know, that scripture of I never knew you. You never knew him.
I guess that, because as an atheist, I can recognize that believing in God could relieve some of the stress and anxiety. Because I think what it stresses me out the most about the political situation is that I don't know how this is going to end. You know, as a historian, I can look at World War II and I'm like, I know how it ended.
Yeah.
Whereas I look at this and I'm like, I don't know.
Well, we don't know how it's going to end
But
either.
you can sort of have this sense of there will eventually be some sort of justice because you believe in God and you believe that your God believes in justice.
Yes, and I'm trying hard not to want to be. Is that me?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, there's some comfort in knowing that there will be justice. We don't know when that will be. It may not be for a very long time. We may not get to see it happen. So, you know, you have to somehow deal with now.
Yeah.
Even if it doesn't.
So you don't find it calms your worries?
It
in
does
any
to
way?
some extent.
Yeah.
Like I've lost all hope in man. I haven't lost all hope in God.
Okay.
So that I'm sure that helps. Never having lived without that, I don't know how it would feel, how I would be doing if I didn't have that, because I've always had that. So that's an interesting question. I don't know. I would imagine it would be a lot harder to deal with stuff if I didn't think somebody was ultimately in charge of all this
Yeah.
and is going to eventually wipe us out and start again, because there is some comfort in that. I wish he'd just hurry up and do it. Come back, wipe it out.
Is that a thing? Because didn't God make a promise after the flood that he would never do something like that again?
That's not really, it's, I actually read a thing on Farmer Girl this week about that. You should look that up. The rainbow is to remind God to hold his temper. It's not saying he'll never do it again. It's just he'll be thoughtful about it before he does it again. I don't see it so much as he's going to, come down and destroy everybody. I see it more of how long is he going to allow us to destroy each other before he says, okay, that's it. Everybody out of the pool. We're done.
Yeah.
At some point he's got to lose patience.
This is maybe, I don't know if this is I had a very controversial thought about God recently.
Okay.
Which is, it's sort of an extension of that. God is all good and God is all powerful, yet bad things happen. That conundrum.
Because we're stupid, not because he is.
Well, I think about,
yeah.
This is sort of a bad metaphor, but me over my chicken coop.
Okay.
My chickens in the chicken coop are my responsibility. They're there because I put them there. They're my responsibility to take care of. Yes. I am their God, for lack of a better. If one group of chickens was systematically killing another group of my chickens, I would intervene. Yeah, yes. I would intervene. I would separate them. I would fix that problem. Yes. That would be my responsibility, and I would be negligent not to.
And
so how is it that God can get away with it?
To get there. I will say I'm a bit impatient for him, but I'm also assuming that I'm on the good side, right?
Yeah.
So I may not be in a real hurry for him to come down and scold if I think
you would be scolded.
Well, I'm not perfect. I think, well, there is that scripture that says, how oft would I have gathered you as a hen gathereth her chickens.
Okay.
And you wouldn't. Maybe he has tried to gather his hens, his chickens, and we haven't let him. I really think when bad things happen, it's because we've allowed them to happen. Mm-hmm. We could intervene. He's letting us prove what we are, who we are, and we're not holding up we're not shining too well right now. I don't think he will ever take away your freedom of choice, your free agency. I don't think he can. I think that's inherent. But that means, the question is, how long is he going to let this go before there is justice? I have a different view of necessarily how that's going to work. Like, we don't know the details of, but we do believe in a second coming. Just maybe not in time to fix this mess that we're in. We might have to come up with a solution.
Second coming of Jesus? Or
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But that doesn't mean you stand back and say, well, that's his problem.
Do you think, though, if Jesus were to show up today, how well would he be received?
He'd be horrified. Well, first of all, would he come on TikTok? Or how,
exactly.
How's he gonna... seriously, not joking. I think... in a lot of ways, I mean, he hasn't physically come, but he's given us enough know-how and knowledge and information that we shouldn't have to wait for him to come.
We shouldn't have to.
We should be fixing this ourselves.
Yeah.
And the fact that we're not is going to condemn us in the end. I do believe in karma. I do believe in, it will come back to us. Maybe not in the way we expect. And maybe, to people who won't expect that it applies to them. I think a lot of people really think they're in the right, and we will find out, won't we? Yeah. But I don't know. I don't want to get too judgy of other people because I myself have a lot of room for improvement. And I'm the first to admit that. But at least try, At least try to be good. And
just
people.
Their definition of good is questionable.
It's just very disheartening to see how people can treat other people.
Yeah.
And whether there's retribution or not, how do they live with themselves? Like, you shouldn't only be good because you're afraid of retribution. You shouldn't
Yeah.
only be good because you're being, you're being threatened.
Yeah.
You should be good because it's the right thing to do.
Yeah.
You know?
It shouldn't require rewards and punishment.
Right.
This one goes here.
Yeah.
I found it.
And that goes on.
Um,
All right, where were we?
So we've talked a lot about religion.
Yeah, wasn't expecting that. But okay.
Well, it's either religion or politics. It's got to be one or the other.
Well, there's lots of other things. Gardening, writing.
That's true. Gardening. What do you love about gardening?
A couple of things. One is it tends to be done solitary outdoors, and I
Two of your favorite things.
I like being solitary and outdoors. I like the feeling of, I wouldn't say self-sufficiency because I'm far from that, but some independence,
Productivity.
Yeah. Resilience. Feeling like if something comes to the worst, I can provide for my family.
Yeah.
There's, I probably can't, but it'd be nice to think that we won't starve to death because
Yeah.
I can at least,
Your
provide a
family
salad.
could live off of kale and tomatoes.
Yeah.
And you'd be good to go.
Yeah, I mean, I've grown everything from wheat to oats to amaranth to
Yeah.
sweet potatoes to. So yeah, there's.
What drives your gardening? Like me, I just like growing weird stuff that you can't get into the grocery store, and that's what excites me.
Part of that is I like trying something new every year,
Yeah.
but part of it is prepping for the apocalypse. Knowing that, I mean, especially like during COVID, I didn't have to worry about running out of stuff because
Yeah.
I'd grown it and it
Yeah,
was in
yeah.
my basement already, and I didn't have to panic.
Is it kind of a Mormon thing too, growing
Yes.
food and
Yes,
preserving food?
Yeah, we are actually told to have a year's supply of food, fuel, money.
So you come by
Oh,
being a
so-
prepper honestly. It
Yes.
was-
Yeah, we didn't call it prepper. We just called it having your 1 year supply, whatever.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So yes, where I grew up, everybody bottled fruit and grew a garden. And,
Yeah.
I don't think I knew of anybody who didn't do at least something along those lines. My parents always had a big garden.
Yeah. So it wasn't a big learning curve for you.
No, I learned everything from my mom.
Yeah.
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 I probably fought not to when I was growing up. I'm sure I wasn't a willing, the same with learning to sew. Hated it,
Oh,
but I'm glad
yeah.
she taught me
Yeah.
because I've needed it.
Yeah.
But I think everybody should try at least something.
Yeah.
And because if nothing else, you learn that you're able to learn. That I've got the confidence. I may not know how to do something, but I can figure it out.
Yeah.
Or somebody can help me figure it out.
Yeah. Something that you and I have in common is doing things the hard way.
Probably.
We and we talked about this, like relying on technology too much.
Yeah.
This idea that if you rely on doing things the easy way, you lose the ability to do it.
Right. So when you were talking in your one interview
Bruno.
about,
Yeah.
AI taking away people's ability to think for themselves,
Yeah.
we had the same fears when this is how old I am, when calculators came out, of people will stop being able to do math in their heads.
And we
Sure
have,
enough,
yeah.
I barely remember my times tables.
Yeah.
And I mean, people learning how to read clocks that aren't digital, there's a
I
lot
know
of
people
things
in
we've
their
lost.
40s who can't read an analog clock, which
Yeah.
blows my mind. So I've made a purpose of getting an analog clock for my house so that my kids can.
Yeah.
They still can't.
Writing by hand instead of typing.
Yeah.
How many people can't? It's
Yeah.
just chicken scratch because they haven't learned how to actually penmanship.
Yeah.
But simple things like the GPS telling you where to get. How do you read a map?
Yeah.
How do you just memorize things? Like
Yeah.
if
And
I
it's-
ask you somebody's phone number,
No, I
do
don't
you have to stop and
memorize
look it
that
up?
anymore. I have my best friend when I was 10. I have her phone number memorized, but
Yeah.
I don't know my boyfriend's phone number.
Yeah. So, I mean, my memory's shot nowadays anyway. But
Yeah.
but I try to memorize things.
All these skills that have been lost because an easier way was invented.
Yes.
Nobody knows how to grow their own food anymore. Nobody knows how to hand wash laundry anymore. Nobody knows how to
So
cook on a wood stove anymore.
wash dishes by hand.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Simple things. How do you cook without a microwave? How do you cook without, gadgets? How do you start a fire? Like, I think there's a lot of things that people have let go because we no longer need them every day.
Yeah.
But at some point, if you want to, and it's not even, like I don't need to know how to grow oats, but I know I can.
Yeah.
If I need to, I can.
Yeah.
And if I don't know how to do something, I've learned that I'm capable of learning it. So that's comforting. So that's why I like weaving, because it's done entirely without electricity.
Yeah.
From
Yeah.
sheep to shawl, you
Yeah.
don't use electricity.
And then also when you do it the hard way, you gain so much more appreciation. Like once I got a loom and I started making fabric, I started to realize how hard it is to make fabric.
Yeah.
And then you think
Never abuse it again.
You go into a store and you buy a t-shirt for $4, a brand new t-shirt for $4, and you think
Yes.
of the work that went into it.
Yeah.
The cotton, the harvesting the cotton, the processing the cotton, the dyeing the cotton, the weaving the cotton, the tailoring of the cotton, all of that, and it came to $4. That's wild.
No, it didn't. It's it's worth a lot more than that. That's why I like to do buy secondhand clothing or recycle things, because I know I don't want to waste somebody's effort.
Yeah.
Some poor woman in Bangladesh, paying 50 cents a month to do this.
Yeah.
I want to make sure I get every bit out of the worth of it I
Yeah.
can. So I'll go to Value Village or somewhere for my clothes.
Yeah.
So that
So that
it's
you're
not
not
just used and thrown away.
Yeah.
That's not honoring what she did,
Yeah.
poor lady.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm a bit militant when it comes to that stuff. I'm not a good consumer. The other day I had a friend driving me around Sarnia to run some errands, and I'm amazed at how many of the stores in Sarnia I've never been into.
Yeah.
How many stores back home I've never been to, because I don't shop. I'm not a good consumer. I hate shopping.
Yeah. What do you think it is about shopping that you hate?
It's like when you walk into Costco and there's just too much abundance. It's overwhelming.
Yeah.
It's sinful. Like
Yeah.
I can't justify the waste that we have and but do I really need this much ketchup? I mean,
Yeah.
to me it's just overwhelming.
Yeah.
I don't like it. It seems disrespectful somehow.
Yeah.
Somebody spent their precious life churning this out. That's why I was probably a bad employee too, because I'm spending my precious life moving this stack of paper to there, or putting numbers in boxes, and it's like, these are just blips. These aren't even real money. These are just blips.
Yeah. It's not real.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like tangible stuff. All of my hobbies are things I can do with my hands.
Yeah.
That I can actually,
Yeah.
the textiles.
Take a raw
and stuff I
material
do.
and turn it into a product.
And same with gardening.
Feel accomplished at the end of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're very close to the end product. Whereas when you do an office job, for example, you never see an end product. I'm not sure what the end product is. I just do my little blip part of it.
Yeah.
So I was never very happy with that. So yeah, I like authenticity. I like, I hate plastic. I hate stuff that I like wood, stone, the real stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
Even if it's not terribly practical in some way.
If you could roll civilization back to a previous level of development, would you?
No, because of medical improvements.
That's
the only thing
right there.
I belong in the 1870s, except for the medical improvements, I would say. But as far as the other things that we've come up with, even communication, maybe not.
Yeah.
I think we.
You don't need to be so connected.
Right, and that's why I don't have a cell phone.
Yeah.
Because, and I still get the weirdest comments from people when I say I don't have a cell phone, but I don't want to be that connected. I don't see a need to be that connected.
Yeah.
I still write letters and postcards, and that's weird, but it's more fun to receive that. So, yeah. So I think I wouldn't roll us back, but I would like to see more of the values that we used to have.
Yeah.
The things we used to value that we no longer value, including the work of somebody's hands.
Yeah. To steer it back to religion again, which I tried to steer it away from.
That's totally fine if that's where it's going.
In some people use Christianity to justify capitalism by saying God gave us all of this for us to utilize.
It always comes down to that stupid the misinterpretation in Genesis, where he says, subdue the earth and dominate it. That's not what it meant. And when you look at subsequent stuff, it says he was placed in the garden to dress it and tend it and be a steward of it. When Adam named the animals, people say, oh, he's taking, no, what in
They see it as like
Hebrew
a domination
tradition,
thing.
Hebrew tradition, if you name something, you're taking responsibility for it now. It's yours. So he's acknowledging his stewardship over the earth by naming it. Saying, okay, I'm now responsible for you.
Yeah.
And so it was very different. It's stewardship.
Yeah, it's a subtle twist of translation, but it makes all the difference.
All
in
the
world.
difference. Yes.
Yeah.
That's one thing I liked about studying Hebrew was looking at old stories in new ways of, is that really what it said? No, we go back and look at the original. No, that's not what it said.
Yeah.
Because it never sat right, sure enough. No, that's the wrong
But people are
interpretation.
okay with it because it serves their...
Oh, of course, yeah.
Yeah.
We always interpret things to suit us.
Is there room for evolution in your religion?
Yeah, the church hasn't come out, and in fact, they've said we do not take a stand on it.
Okay.
Yeah, we call it the creative periods, not necessarily days.
So that God was dabbling rather than he had a specific plan?
Well, he had a plan, but he could have used evolution to create. His day to create the earth might have been eons, right? And it could have very well been. If you really read how it is, there's plenty of room for evolution in there. The church doesn't come out and say, and basically they say, we don't know, he used something sciencey, and we'll figure it out someday, but we don't know.
Cool.
So they don't speculate if it hasn't been told. Right? So.
All right, I think I'll call it a day on that.
Okay.
That was a great conversation. I really, really enjoyed that.
Thank you.
And that was my interview with Kristen. It was quite fun doing it while doing the interview while doing a puzzle, though I found it hard for me to do one or the other job well. So I ended up sort of staring at her and listening to her, and then I'd work on the puzzle for a little bit. And then also my kids were in the background, so if you heard quite a bit of background noise, that was my kids, that was her dog, that was her furnace. And okay, so here's the thing I want to say about these interviews that I've been doing. I could interview each of these people 3 or 4 times and still never run out of things to talk about. Honestly, the conversation with Kristen, we mostly ended up talking about religion, which she was really surprised at. And she was worried afterwards that maybe it made for a very boring interview. But I think that's just because she sort of lives that life. So it's not exciting to her anymore. Whereas to me, it's very interesting. I find other people's belief systems and why they believe the things that they do the most interesting. So I find it a very interesting conversation. But we didn't even touch on, there are so many other facets to Kristen's personality that we didn't even touch on. The fact that we interviewed that in the basement of an old church. Her and her husband bought an old church in the community where I live. So that's how we ended up getting to know each other, because we're almost neighbors. So they've bought this old church and they're refurbishing it and fixing all the stained glass windows. And it's a really big undertaking, but we could have spent half an hour talking about that, and I forgot to even mention it altogether. So maybe another day when I have run out of people to interview, I'll come back and interview some people a second time so that we can get a little bit more information about them. I don't really have anything to say about my talk, Kristen. I really like talking politics with her. I find she has a really great perspective and a really calm demeanor about it and a lot of good wisdom. And yeah, a lot of her wisdom comes from her religion. And I think that there is something wonderful in that. Just because I don't believe in God doesn't mean that I don't think that religions don't have a heap loads of wisdom that we can all learn. I don't really have anything to say about this interview. I didn't take any notes. I don't have anything. And I also don't know who I'm interviewing next week. It's entirely possible there's not going to be an episode next week because I haven't interviewed anyone yet. I've got a couple that are like in the works, but nothing that's come together yet. So fly by the seat of my pants. Thanks very much, everyone, for joining me. I'll see you next time, whenever next time may be. Take care.